Hello, my name is Bálint MEZEI. I'm a historian and I work as an assistant professor at the Department of Eastern and Central European History and Historical Russistics at the Institute of History of the Eötvös Loránd University. And in the framework of this upcoming open class, I'm going to talk about the Eastern enlargements of the European Union. Within the Central European Studies MA program, we deal a lot with the modern history of the Central European, more precisely the Central Eastern European countries, a very important part of which is the Euro-Atlantic integration of the former state socialist, or with a different terminology, communist countries. This was perhaps the last major political and economic project that united the political elite of the individual Central and Eastern European countries that wanted to join the European Union, and also, in a broader sense, also united the mainstream political forces in the region. Its importance is felt even today. Moreover, the continuation of enlargement or enlargements is constantly on the political agenda of the European Union. Just think of the cases of the Western Balkans, Georgia or Ukraine. The Euro-Atlantic integration of the Central European region that has been achieved so far is a success story overall, but we should not forget it was the result of a much longer process. This process had already started with the weakening of the communist parties in the Central Eastern European countries, so already in the 80s. And it accelerated after the regime changes, which put an end to the communist rule in the Central Eastern European countries at the end of the 80s, at the beginning of the 90s. If we want to understand the significance of the Eastern enlargements of the European Union, we need to recapitulate some of the most important historical events after the Second World War. The Yalta Conference, held in February 1945, already designated the spheres of influence which divided Europe until the collapse of state socialism. Eastern Europe became part of the Soviet sphere of interest. However, the Soviet Union not only extended its influence to the countries of the region, but it also forcibly imposed its own political, social, economic system on the countries of the region within the Soviet Union spheres of interest. This system had crystallized in the Soviet Union as a result of forced industrialization and collectivization in the 1930s under Joseph Stalin's rule. This dictatorial system, called state socialism or communism, was later, so after the Second World War, was later exported to almost all the countries of the Central Eastern European region. The Sovietization of Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania and Bulgaria was roughly completed by the year of 1948. In the following year, in 1949, the superpowers rendered the division of Germany permanent. As a result, the Federal Republic of Germany was created from the Western occupation zones of Germany, and the German Democratic Republic, the GDR, was formed from the Soviet occupation zone. The technical barrier was gradually built on the border separating the two Germanys, and with the words of the great Winston Churchill, an iron curtain descended, which became a symbol of the separation of the two competing world systems. Perhaps the most famous and infamous section of the Iron Curtain was the Berlin Wall, which divided the German capital from August 1961 till November 1989. The Berlin Wall was a very visible symbol of the whole Iron Curtain, a very visible and a very physical symbol of the whole Iron Curtain that separated the Western European democracies and the Soviet satellite countries of the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War. The Soviet leaders forced the Central and Eastern European countries within their sphere of interest to join alliance organizations which were set up and led by the Soviet Union, we can speak of two major alliance organizations, an economic and a military one. In 1949, Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, together with the German Democratic Republic and Albania, joined the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance, the CAMICON, and a few years later, in 1955, they also entered into a military alliance, the Warsaw Treaty Organization, commonly known as the Warsaw Pact. The CAMICON, the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance, was the Eastern Bloc's response to the announcement of the Marshall Plan in Western Europe and the formation of the Organization for European Economic Cooperation, the OEEC, which later became the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. Both Soviet alliance organizations, the CAMICON and the Warsaw Pact, were dissolved in the year of 1991, shortly before the breakup of the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, decisive changes took place in Western Europe as well. On the 4th of April 1949, the North Atlantic Treaty was signed in Washington, D.C. in the United States, which established the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the NATO. The French Foreign Minister, Robert Schuman, made a very important declaration the day after the 5th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe, so on the 9th of May, which is now celebrated in the European Union as Europe Day. The so-called Schuman Plan laid the foundation for a Franco-Western German compromise and cooperation, and later it facilitated political and economic integration. The first Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Konrad Adenauer, responded positively to the declaration, so did the governments of the Netherlands, Italy, Belgium and Luxembourg. On the 18th of April 1951, the 6 founding members signed the Treaty of Paris, which established the European Coal and Steel Community, Europe's first supranational community, which paved the way to the European Economic Community and subsequently the European Union. After that, the political and economic integration of the Western European countries continued at a relatively fast pace. The Treaty of Rome of 1957 established the European Economic Community, which was also known as the European Common Market, established by its 6 founding members, Western Germany, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Italy and Luxembourg. This was a regional organization, an economic organization in Western Europe. The United Kingdom, together with Denmark and Ireland, joined the European Economic Community in 1973. Greece also joined the community a few years later in 1981, following the restoration of its democracy. Spain and Portugal applied for admission in 1977 and finally joined the European Economic Community in 1986. These were the first 3 enlargements of the community. Very important changes took place in the Eastern Bloc countries as well at around the middle of the 80s. In March 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev was elected the new General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. With him, a younger generation, a new generation, took over the supreme leadership of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev, in foreign politics, shifted the emphasis from the confrontation to the cooperation, and it had a very positive effect not only on the relations between the United States and the Soviet Union, but also on the relations between the European communities, first of all the European Economic Community and the CAMICON. The CAMICON countries at that time were already facing very serious economic problems, primarily because of their heavy indebtedness to the West. So a closer cooperation between the 2 major European economic organizations, the CAMICON and the European Economic Community, became inevitable. These 2 major European economic organizations finally signed a joint declaration in 1988, which represented a very significant step towards the normalizations of the relations between the Western European countries and the Soviet satellite countries of the Eastern Bloc. However, Gorbachev's reforms did not achieve their original goals. The measures introduced under the slogans of perestroika and glasnost, restructuring and transparency, failed to solve the economic problems of the planned economies, and they also failed short to transform the one-party system into a working socialist democracy. Among other very important factors, this led to the political regime changes and the establishment of civil democratic systems in the Central Eastern European countries between 1989 and 1991. A turning point in Soviet diplomacy was the 1989 Malta summit, where the US President George H.W. Bush met with Mikhail Gorbachev just a few weeks after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Which happened in November of the same year. The fall of the Berlin Wall led to the unification of the two Germanys, so the former German Democratic Republic became the first of the Comecon members to join the Euro-Atlantic integration, such as NATO and the European Economic Community. During the Malta summit, George H.W. Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev declared an end to the Cold War. So in the following years, the Soviet Union, and after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation withdrew its military units from the Central and Eastern European countries. As I have already mentioned, the two major Soviet alliance organizations, the Comecon and the Warsaw Pact, were finally dissolved in the year of 1991, just a few months before the breakup of the Soviet Union, which happened in December of the same year. All of this, with the political regime changes that had already taken place by that time, gave substantially more diplomatic freedom to the Central and Eastern European countries. The most important initiative at that time was the formation of the Visegrad Group in February 1991. This group was formed at a meeting between the president of the Czech and Slovak Federal Republic, Václav Havel, the president of the Republic of Poland, Lech Walesa, and the prime minister of Hungary, József Antal. This group was created with the clear aim of moving away from state socialism and at the very same time implementing the reforms required for the full membership to the Euro-Atlantic institutions such as NATO and the European Community. After the dissolution of the Czech and Slovak Federal Republic, which happened on the 1st of January 1993, the Czech Republic and Slovakia became independent members of this newly created Central European Alliance, raising the number of the member countries from 3 to 4. The Visegrad countries signed the Central European Free Trade Agreement in December 92 in the city of Krakow in Poland. It came to force in July 94. Later, other ex-socialist countries joined the CEFTA. For example, Slovenia in 96, Romania in 97, Bulgaria in 99, and Croatia in 2003. In 1993, the Maastricht Treaty established the European Union, which placed the functioning of the European institutions on a new foundation. It had a huge impact on later enlargements. The fourth enlargement of the European Union took place just 2 years later, in the framework of which Austria, Finland and Sweden joined the European Union officially on the 1st of January 1995. From 91 to 96, 10 former socialist countries submitted applications to join the European Union. We are talking about the Visegrad Group countries, the Baltic countries, former member republics of the Soviet Union, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. We are talking about Slovenia, a former member republic of socialist Yugoslavia, and of course we are talking about Romania and Bulgaria. the Luxembourg European Council of December 97 launched the process of the next enlargements of the community, in which they stated that each of the applicant states would proceed at its own rate, depending on its degree of preparedness. In order to prepare for the EU membership, the candidate countries first signed so-called Europe agreements in the case of the Central Eastern European countries, or association agreements in the case of Cyprus and Malta. The European Union extensively supported these candidate countries to adopt the community's rules through its pre-accession strategy. So the European Union gave these candidate countries very important financial support for modernizing and developing their infrastructure, institutions, and economies. Accession negotiations began in March 1998 with the 6 best prepared countries, so with Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Estonia and Slovenia, and Cyprus, and in February 2000 with all the other candidate countries. Meanwhile, Poland, Hungary and Czech Republic became members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 1999. The Copenhagen European Council of December 2002 found that 10 of the 12 candidate countries had fulfilled the conditions necessary for joining the European Union. Therefore, these countries signed their accession treaty on the 16th of April 2003 in Athens, and officially joined the European Union on the 1st of May 2004 after the ratification procedures had been completed. This day, the 1st of May of 2004, is a very important day in the European Union's history because 10 new countries joined the European Union with a combined population of 75 million. Without a single doubt, this was the most complex enlargement and the very first Eastern enlargement of the European Union. Barely a month before this historical enlargement of the European Union, the Baltic countries, together with Slovenia, Slovakia, Bulgaria and Romania, joined the NATO in 2004. To become part of the European Union, the candidate countries had to fulfill specific political and economic conditions, also known as the Copenhagen criteria, according to which a candidate country, first of all, should be a stable democracy, should protect minorities, should respect human rights and the rule of law, and in addition to that, should have a working market economy and should adopt the common standards, rules and policies which make up the body of European Union law. Bulgaria and Romania signed their accession treaty on the 25th of April 2005 and finally became members of the European Union on the 1st of January 2007. This was the 6th but not the last enlargement of the European Union, because 11 years ago, on the 1st of July 2013, the Republic of Croatia also became member of the European Union. As we have seen in the case of other ex-socialist countries, the example of Croatia also shows us that the NATO accession usually precedes the EU membership. Croatia, together with Albania, joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 2009, 4 years before joining the European Union. These historic Eastern enlargements of the European Union, from 15 to 28 members, was the culmination of a very long accession process leading to the reunification of Europe, which had been divided for half a century by the Iron Curtain and the Cold War. Thank you for the attention.